Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. We're so glad that you are here today with us, whether you're watching us live or listening to us later on as we are being recorded. We are so happy that you're always in our audience. Well, Paul Hollis says, evening, Rob and Joan.
Hey,
Good
Paul.
evening, Paul.
Way up in Ohio.
Yeah, we're really glad that you're here. And we're always glad to hear from you.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Okay. This Saturday on Episode Rewind, that's at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here where you're watching right now. Judith Starkston, her episode is on. And Meet the Author next week will be on next Wednesday, of course, right here on the 13th of November. It's going to be the last Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles reveal of the year, 2024 reveal part 4. And it's the last 3 books. And one just came out in October. We had to delay the show because of the hurricane that we went through. So we're going to talk to James Callan and Kelly Marshall and Jinx Schwartz. It'll be the next October, November, and December releases. Available now, Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles Book 29 is by James Callan, and he's going to talk about When a Sure Thing Fails. That's his book. And then Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles Book number 30 is Justified Homicide by Kelly Marshall. And that's available for pre-order right now. So if you go to Amazon, you can get it for 99 cents pre-order. That'll come out, I believe, November 20th.
Right.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
So,
Joe Conjal says, hi, Rob and Joan. Hello,
hey, Joe.
Joe. How are you tonight? Good to see you, as always. Yes.
For real. Okay, anything else you want to chit-chat
Nope,
about?
I say let's bring our guest on.
All right. And here we go. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
We're really good. We're glad that you could join us.
Thank you for having me.
Pardon me?
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
You're
welcome. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be having a show tonight. Well, we could have a show, but it would just be the two of us talking.
And nobody would want that.
And everybody's heard enough.
They've heard enough.
They've heard enough of that.
For real.
So, would you like to tell us how you started writing, what your writing history and beginning was?
Sure. I had kind of a bizarre entry into writing fiction. I do not recommend it to anybody, although it worked for me, which is that I had back-to-back health crises. I had been a business writer for decades and always thought it would be fun to try fiction, but I had an executive career, kids, dogs, and who has time, right?
Yeah.
But then I was in a horseback riding accident and I shattered my pelvis, broke it in numerous spots, and was on crutches for 3 months. And I wasn't even allowed to drive. So, I mean, I couldn't even take my kids to their activities. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do any chores, which wasn't so bad. That part was okay. But anyway, so as I'm lying on the couch thinking, how am I going to not lose my mind? I said, wait, I'll try writing a book. So I wrote a kid's story called Shannon's Odyssey with my younger daughter in mind. She was a big animal lover and liked magic and that kind of thing. So I wrote Shannon's Odyssey, and that's when I realized, hey, I actually can put a full-length novel together. I mean, in this case, a chapter book. So that was the first step. And then almost exactly a year after breaking my pelvis, that was all healed, thankfully, but I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And I went through another year of healing and treatments and went through chemotherapy and same kind of thing. I stopped working and was trying to think, how am I gonna not go crazy? So I started writing a book for my teenage daughter that was set in a high school drama club. And that turned into the Bit Players YA or young adult series. And I chose drama. I mean, I've always loved it. I did drama in high school and college. I wasn't very good, but I loved it. And my daughters both loved it, and they were good. And this is when the TV show Glee was really popular.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right. Those were taking off, but there were no books that I could find set in that
Uh-huh.
book. So I wrote the first Bit Players book and had the drama club took the really popular vampire stories, Twilight, and they made it into their own original musical. So they adapted it. They took existing pop songs and traditional songs and all kinds of stuff, and they would write lyrics to go with Twilight and put them to music. So people that are reading it will actually know those songs or can pull them up on YouTube and actually, hear the song while they see the lyrics in the book. So anyway, that was the concept of Bit Players, and that turned into a 3-part series. So that's how I kind of got my start writing fiction. Like I said, not recommended, but it worked for me.
Yeah. And plus took your mind off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of what you were going through, both things. I mean,
Yeah.
both are like horrible.
Well, I mean, I would sit there in the hospital for my chemo treatment. I was there for all day, and I'd have my laptop in my lap, and I would just be writing away. Yeah, it was a very good distraction.
Yeah, yeah, and definitely needed a distraction. So, I mean, ovarian cancer, we've all heard about that, all know celebrities that have died from that. And you're in remission, right?
Yes, I was lucky. They caught it early. I was stage 1, and I was relatively young at the time. And so the chemo knocked it out, and I'm 12 years cancer free.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
That is awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
How did they catch it? Did it have anything to do with you shattering your pelvis? Were they looking more closely, or was it just a regular office visit?
It's interesting because looking back, we realized when I broke the pelvis, they did do a CAT scan and they did see a little something there, but nobody really focused on it. But it didn't matter in the end because I was having pain. I was having very unusual, intense pain. So I went to the doctors, and that's when they caught it.
Oh, well, good for you that you went to get it checked out. Did you think it was part of your pelvis shattering? Because that has lingering pain.
Yeah. No, it was definitely different. It was internal, and it was higher than the pelvis, and it was pretty excruciating pain. I knew something was wrong. It happened 2 nights in a row before I got to the doctors, and I actually went and walked on the treadmill for literally like 2 or 3 hours because I was trying to get some endorphins going. It seemed like the only thing that would sort of bring the pain down a bit.
Right.
Right. I knew something was up.
Oh, well, that was a rough introduction to being an author, huh?
But thankfully, I have not had anything since. Or health crisis.
And you've continued to be an author, which was bonus. Well, that was a very difficult thing that you went through, and we're really happy for you that you came out so well.
How close together were your Bit Players 1, 2, and 3?
Okay,
those 3 releases.
Let me put those up. There's one that Sue just talked about, and then there's this one.
Mm-hmm.
Bit Players.
And that one, they take Wuthering Heights, the classic Bronte story, and they turn that into a contemporary musical. And then in the third one,
cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to write, I have to say.
Yeah.
And the third one, they take Seussical, which is a fantastic musical to begin with, and they adapt that and they make a contemporary 1-act play / musical for their senior class play. So yeah, those are really fun to do. And they were, Rob, to answer your question, probably about a year apart.
About a year apart, yeah. That's kind of what I was guessing, so with the subject matter, yeah.
Right, and because with each of them, I did try to get an agent. I did try to get publishers. I went through everything we all go through, and so that's at least 6 months there, and wasn't successful with any of that. So I ended up self-publishing those. So that's a long process, as everyone knows.
Shannon's Odyssey was self-published as well.
Yes, and I really wrote that, I just thought, for my family. But my people that read it kept saying, this is actually really good. And so I said, all right, well, I'll just put it out there as an ebook, and maybe somebody will buy it and enjoy it. And I said, I'm not going to make any money. I'll just make it, very cheap, and maybe someone will have fun with it. And so then my family said, well, if you're going to make an ebook, you have to do a paperback because we want to buy a copy. So I went to my daughter, who was older at this point, and she was an art major. And I asked her to design me a cover. And I told her I'd give her $50. and
Is that this cover?
She did. Yeah, she did. Wow. She did the cover. She came back with this, and you can kind of, if you see how much detail is in there, when she showed it to me,
beautiful.
I said, yeah. So I told her I was going to have to pay her more than $50.
Yeah, for real. That is so beautiful.
Very nice.
Good for her. I love actually the look on Shannon's face. Or is Shannon the girl?
Yes.
Okay. Well, because sometimes, people, we named one of our dogs Rachel. So, but I love the look on her face, and I really like that. I like that cover anyway, but that's amazing. Mm-hmm. She's a great artist.
Yeah, she's quite talented.
I'll say, and that was good for you. I'll pay you $50.
Right? Classic mother move. When we talk about another book too, she actually did a second cover for me as well. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I might as well keep going then. So actually, after the kids' books, then I wrote Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, and that was my first adult contemporary. So this also, my daughter did the artwork on that one.
Okay.
That's good too.
Yeah, and I know some people can't see it, but if anyone wants to check out her work, it's on Instagram. She's at Noot Creations, Noot Creations. But anyway, so this one, same story. Tried to get an agent, was unsuccessful. But then I did find a publisher. And it was one of the classic networking stories. I had joined a little writers group at the library, very informal. When I was doing some readings, the poet who ran it, who's published poet, she said, this is pretty good. And she told me about someone else she knew who had found this small independent press, pitched them, and then they did publish it. So I finally had a publisher with that one.
Yeah. And you're still with a publisher now. Different publisher, but
right. So that one they were called TouchPoint Press, and that did not have a happy ending. They did fine with Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, but then they were supposed to publish my next book, which is the one that came out in July. So actually not that one. That's like a little interlude. We can come back to that one, but about Beautiful and Terrible Things, which just came out. TouchPoint was supposed to publish it. They had a contract to do it within 18 months. They didn't do anything. And the company had just started failing, and it was rough because, we all work so hard to get these things done, and you get a publisher and you think this is the best thing ever. And then you lose a year and a half waiting. So that was pretty dismal. The company has officially closed. They were required to. The Authors Guild went after them. And so cautionary tale there for everybody. Please avoid TouchPoint Press. They may come back in some format or other, but they are not reliable. And I hate to say it, but because they did fine with my first book, but they changed, over time. But anyway, so after the 18 months was up with TouchPoint, I started querying again, and I did get another publisher called Black Rose Writing. And they've been great, and they designed what I think is a gorgeous cover, and they've been quite good.
I think that's a gorgeous cover too.
Really makes you think.
So, do you know who's the artist for this?
I don't know who did the artwork. The designer is named David King. He's an employee of Black Rose Writing.
Uh-huh.
And he has a team too. So I don't know if I'm not sure which one actually did this design, and I don't know where the artwork came from. But yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I like it too. It does make you think.
Yeah.
It actually draws you in and makes you wonder, well, what is that about? Mm-hmm. That's what I think anyway, when I look at it. What is that all about?
Right.
So maybe you'll tell us a little bit about what it's all about.
Yeah, and if you want, I can just quickly fill in that piece you had put on the screen, the Wallace House of Pain.
Let's do that, and then get into Beautiful and Terrible Things after the commercial.
Perfect. Perfect. And this might interest people because the Wallace House of Pain is actually takeouts from Beautiful and Terrible Things. So it's nice to know that as authors, we have a way to repurpose things. What happened was my first draft of Beautiful and Terrible Things followed 6 characters, 6 friends, and they all had their own arc. And it was about twice as long as what was finally published. And I knew nobody was going to publish it at that length. So I started cutting. I had to take out, I had to pare back 3 of the characters, their arcs. And when I took out Xander's, I was like, boy, he's really standalone. His arc was mostly about coming out to his father. And so, and he tries to do this over a series of dinners, and at every dinner he drags a different friend. So it actually worked really nicely, and I made it into a novelette, and I did self-publish that. I wasn't going to bother trying to get a publisher for a 14,000 word bit. But anyway, so that's the story behind Wallace House of Pain.
So your novelette was 14,000 words, did you just say?
I believe that's what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's the same characters as Beautiful and Terrible Things. So that's kind of interesting. I've never done that before.
So Joe Condell said, hi, SM. So you self-published your first book. Was it a bad experience? What made you continue to seek out an agent and publisher for the next books?
Oh, why do I keep seeking agents and publishers? I think because I'm a masochist. I have that stuck in my head that, boy, that's the holy grail. And if you can just get an agent or a publisher, they an agent get you to the big 5, and it's all going to change your life. I honestly think that's changing. So my self-publishing experience was not horrible. I just always wanted to see if I might get up to another level in the publishing industry. But I have a lot of author friends who more and more are saying, you know what, it's not even worth going with a publisher. You get to keep more, and you have more control when you self-publish, and it can be a beautiful thing.
Yep. Well, we're indie published, and I know Joe is because we know Joe, and it's you do get to keep more. You get to keep more of your royalties, and you really have your hands on it the whole time. And so if you don't like it, guess what? You only have yourself to blame, but you can change it. So that's the good thing. But yeah, I don't think we even want to look for a publisher. I mean,
No, not unless Random House called, and I checked my phone and it's not, they haven't called recently. So.
Yeah, with $100,000
right,
up front,
yeah, they're going to send
then
that.
we'll say, oh, okay, you can have it.
We'll
can
think about it.
You can do
Get back to you.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, these days, even the big 5, they expect their authors to do a lot of their own marketing and promotion.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, really, what do you get? You get into bookstores a little more easily.
Well, not to mention you're under their deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to operate under their deadlines. And if they have places that they want you to go, you're kind of obligated to go, like to book signings and that sort of thing, even if they're, in different places. So,
but they don't even set those up anymore, I don't think.
No, I don't know. Maybe
that's why they all have their own agents, because they don't do that much for them. So,
well, honestly, I really think that the whole paradigm is shifting, and I think another 10 years, publishing is going to look completely differently. A lot of the big publishers are starting to have these smaller independent imprints of their own that will take direct queries from authors sometimes. So it's shifting.
Yeah. In the 12 years we've been doing this, we've seen a huge shift too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's changed a lot since we first started.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Conjal said, I had an agent for my first book, but they were not able to sell it. I self-published it, and it's done very well for me overall. Yes, it has, Joe.
Which is an awesome success story. And that's something people never think about. It's like you assume if you get an agent, you're going to get a deal, but you don't always.
Right. Yeah. Well, he's a great author. We know that. We've read his books.
Right. Well, let's break for our first commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about your
latest book.
Your latest book, and you're going to read from it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to hear all about it. So stand by. Don't go away, folks. Got a lot to talk about.
This novel, set against the backdrop of the English Civil War, explores love and survival amidst the chaos of war. It combines historical events with personal narratives, highlighting the impact of conflict on individuals and families. England, 1642. When bloody civil war breaks out between the king and parliament, families and communities are driven by different allegiances. Red Winter Journey is a sweeping tale of adventure and loss, sacrifice and love, with a unique and unforgettable story of a mother's love for her son at its heart. A historic journey of twists, turns, and a dash of spirited passion.
I finished reading the book a couple of days ago. It was a great read. The plot was indeed compelling, and I loved the conclusion. What I particularly enjoy in Paul's novels is his vivid recounting of historical details as to the social and cultural sides at the time. His characters are very likable and relatable.
It's 1919, and Eric Laska returns from the war in Europe. Two new enemies await him in the small, coal-mining town he calls home. One is a threat to his relationship with Rebecca, the love of his life. The other, a bloodthirsty beast, is stalking the mining town residents. The townspeople suspect Eric of one of the killings. An old man and Rebecca's 11-year-old sister have seen the beast, but only Eric believes their story. To protect the town and clear his name, he's forced to prove the werewolf exists. Available on Amazon. The Horror Within by Marjorie Swift Doring.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Now comes part 4 in the Jaguar series by retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. In this saga, Brandon, Andrea, and Naja, the Black Jaguar, go deep into the Mato Grosso jungle on a mission to rescue 2 kidnapped children. During their journey, they encounter many dangers, including Yanomami Indians, bent on revenge for the murder of one of their warriors.
Return of the Jaguar is book 4 in the Jaguar series, starting with 2 faces of the Jaguar, the Lost City, and the Jaguar's Quest. All 4 are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other bookseller websites worldwide. Return of the Jaguar is a must-read.
And we're back.
We are.
Yes. So as we said, let me bring this up. We'll talk about beautiful and terrible things. We already showed you this. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it, and then you can do a reading. I mean, no spoilers, but
No spoilers. So this is a contemporary novel. It's about a group of 6 friends, but at its heart is a woman named Charlie. And she is very introverted and superstitious. She has suffered some tragedies. So she sort of holes up in her apartment above the bookstore that she manages. And that's kind of her life when the story starts. And she gets lured out of this self-imposed social isolation by this quirky activist named Xander. And so he lures her out, and she starts making friends, and she becomes part of his gang of friends. And she thrives, and she gets involved in social issues in the city. They run an American city. And she starts actually engaging a little bit in activism and with the world around her. And then, of course, tragedy strikes. Something bad has to happen. So several bad things happen, and she starts to spiral, and the friends have to try to save her, basically. So that's the basic plot. It has a lot of social justice themes, which I did for a reason. You know, I sat down to write it and thinking that I would focus on one of the issues that's facing our country today. And then I thought, why not make it more realistic? And so it's got a bunch in there. The ones that it explores mostly are mental health, immigration, and racism. And it was really interesting that when I had my beta readers looking at it, some of my older ones, including my mother, so people in their 80s and 90s, read it and said, wow, that was really eye-opening for me. I know these things happen, but I've never sort of experienced it so closely. And my younger beta readers, people in their 20s, were all just like, oh yeah, that's life today. You got it. So the different perspectives was really interesting. So it has those themes, but at its heart, it is really a friendship story. It's about, I have my little tagline that, friendship has the power to, transform, validate, destroy, and save lives. And in the story, you see all of those happen.
I'm interested in just the way that that you wrote it. Do you feel that perhaps people can become superstitious, or I don't know, maybe you did some looking into this and found this to be true, that it happens, it can coincide with a lot of bad things happening in your life, and that causes you to become superstitious? Do you think, like I'm cursed, or, what did I do to deserve this? Do you think that's a common thing for people to feel?
I think that, guilt and shame can do all kinds of things do a number on our brains in lots of ways. And so I think, yeah, in this case, her tragedies happen 7 years apart. So that's why she gets it in her head that every 7 years something horrible is going to happen.
So the superstition was directly because of the way bad things had happened for her.
Period,
yeah.
And I gave her
curious.
Yeah. No, and I gave her a habit that I will admit I do, which is came right from me, that whenever she sees an animal, a wild animal, walking in the woods or whatever, she likes to say it's an animal omen and it means something. And I've always done that kind of for fun, and kind of because I just, I love animals, and I like to read more into it than the fact that, oh, I just saw a hawk. So I was able to use that with Charlie, which was fun.
Yeah, well, you'd love living in Florida because you get to see a lot of wild animals all the time. And unusual ones, like Egyptian vultures and and all different kinds of hawks and eagles, and armadillos go walking down our street, and coyotes go running through the fields, and we have a lot of wild animals.
Tortoises go running across
the
fields.
Gopher tortoises. Like ginormous.
Big tortoises. Yeah.
Gopher tortoises. But the only state that has a wider array of wild animals is Alaska. But then Florida runs a close second.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I know. We did not know that until we moved here, which was almost 30 years ago. But yeah, it's amazing. We have roseate spoonbills. They fly through the air and they look like pink flamingos flying. And they are pink, but they're spoonbills. So they have these great big, huge beaks, and they stand in the water around here and fish. And pelicans land in our lake. And yeah, it's crazy town here.
Yeah. I actually know
in the road.
What did you say?
I actually know the roseate spoonbill because I used to work at the zoo in Boston.
Oh, did you? Aren't they beautiful?
They really are. And actually, we had a place in Florida for a few years, and we had a lot of the cranes, the sandhill cranes, in our yard, and then just the flocks of white birds flying over the lake. It was beautiful.
Those sandhill cranes, they know that if you do anything to hurt them, it's a $1,500 fine. And so I'll be working in the garden, and they'll walk right up behind me and look over my shoulder to see if maybe I'm digging them up some lunch, It's like they have zero fear, and it's really funny to me, They just seem to know, well, they can't hurt me, so they just kind of take over the neighborhood. Like you said, they were all up in your yard, and they'll peck on your window. And all right, I want to hear from your book anyway.
There you go.
Enough talk about animals in Florida.
I know. Don't get me going on animals, because I'll just talk about that. Okay, so shall I read?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so this is pretty early on. Charlie is just starting to socialize with Xander. And so they are hiking up a small mountain when I'm going to start the scene. So Xander peered up at the tree cover. Jade leaves and saplings, white birches slashing the green, shooting to the clouds. He looked at Charlie, smiled warmly, and returned his attention to the trail. Charlie followed him up a short set of crumbling wooden logs fashioned into a rudimentary staircase. What was that? You sounded like you were in a trance, or someone was speaking through you. Xander laughed, presumably at her melodramatic observation. She joined him, thrilling in the simple, forgotten pleasure of laughing at oneself. While I prefer your interpretation, the truth is much more pedestrian. It's a haiku. I make them up as I meander through life. Charlie scratched her nose. Haiku, I remember those. I'm terrible at poetry, but those were so short. They weren't as intimidating. Yeah, that's why I like them. They're not intimidating. She was pretty sure he was making fun of her. Well, why do you like them then? They're elegant in their structure and properly executed deeper than their simple surface would suggest. He smiled at her encouragingly. Give it a try. 5 syllables, then 7, then 5. Charlie grimaced and shook her head. She watched her feet for a while, her light blue running shoes stirring up dust clouds with each step. Xander cleared his throat. Friendship is precious. Like a brook soothing pebbles, it sings and moves us. Charlie stopped and stared at him until he halted. What? He said, bouncing on his toes. That's really pretty. You have to remember that one. Write it down. Why? So you can keep it and go back and enjoy it and let other people enjoy it. No, not necessary. They're meant to be savored fleetingly and by whomever I am with, and perchance the universe if it's listening. Writing them down would diminish their essence. She couldn't tell if he was messing with her. How very zen of you, she finally said, resuming the walk. Have you heard tell of the mandalas Buddhist monks create? Xander said. They construct these massive Byzantine designs that depict the world in divine form. They tessellate them from sand, literally 1 grain at a time, and it can take a team of monks weeks to complete one mandala. And when they're done, they demolish it. They sweep up the sand and cast it into a stream to bless the universe. He whooshed his arm in front of him to emphasize the point. Charlie gasped. That's why you don't keep your poems, to bless the world? Please, he said, I'm not that worthy. He slowed his pace and watched the ground before him for a few steps before turning to Charlie. Each step I take disappears in an instant. Each step eats up another small piece of the earth and my time on it, and we're content to let each step go. We move on. So the haiku and the mandala are like steps upon the earth that we are grateful to have taken, but do not need to dwell upon. Charlie furrowed her brow. I think maybe haiku are beautiful because they distill the world's chaos into a few manageable images. He nodded and smiled. Life is full of death, Charlie intoned as the path leveled, eyes focused on the dirt trail. Dead parents, dead grandparents, everyone leaves me. She smiled wryly. Xander grabbed Charlie and enveloped her in a tight hug. She froze. His body heat and salty odor oozed through her clothes and into her flesh and bones, coaxing her into a relaxed, liquid-like state. As quickly as he'd initiated the embrace, he let go and continued climbing. Charlie's mind wanted to ask why he did that, but her heart said, let it go, like their steps on the path. For the first time in years, she listened to her heart.
That was beautiful. That really was.
It was.
It was really deep, too.
Okay, that's from Beautiful and Terrible Things.
Yep. So, did you write the haiku for that book?
I did, which was a little intimidating because a poet I am not. But they are less intimidating.
Paul Hollis says, great read. It was a great read. I think to get 7, 5, and 7 syllables would be difficult. And I'm not sure that I would have been able to do, I loved the haiku that you had in there. And I'm not sure I would be able to do something that beautiful because I'd be so, just the way my brain works, I'd be so concentrating on the 7 syllables and the 5 syllables and the 7.
Make sure I've got the right one.
I've got
in
it.
there.
Yes. That I might lose a lot of what the feeling was, but that was a lot of feeling and beautiful and in a nice thing to say too, right? The haiku.
Right.
Yeah. George Dismuke says, go ahead.
Try them, Joan, because you just think of an image. That's what I did. You just think of an image and just describe it in a phrase, and then you figure out where the words go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm having to write something else that's challenging, so maybe I'll put a haiku in that. Might as well do two challenging things at once. George Dismuke says, "Here we are. Sorry for being
Hi,
late."
George.
That's okay, George.
Glad
He
you
said,
can make it.
I was tending to the needs of a customer in my other job, saltwater angler.
George writes for a magazine as well.
Yes, he does. Joe Conjal says, "Nice job. Great reading."
Thank you very much.
Yes, it was a really good reading, and like I said, I really like that haiku. The mandala thing is, I know about the mandala, and that's crazy. I've always thought it was crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like, if I spent that much time doing anything and it was really beautiful, it would be mounted on a wall someplace. Everybody would know how long it took. Imagine that kind of patience. My goodness. Kind of like being an author, though. It really takes a lot of patience, I think, to write a book. Don't you?
It does, although we don't throw ours out when we're done, hopefully.
No. No, we want everybody to enjoy it, too.
Mm,
Yeah. Right?
yes.
Not to add to the beauty of the world.
Yep, and I'm thrilled that people do seem to be appreciating this one. The friends were so important to me. It's like when I sat down, so the patience thing, yeah, it's like when I first sat down, it's like, what do I want to create? And I really wanted the camaraderie among this group of friends to be like I thought of The Big Chill, the movie, because I love that movie. Just the friendship is just so great between those characters.
Yeah.
And right, and then Friends, of course, for TV shows.
Oh, the
Camaraderie
best.
Friends group, right? And some other shows too, like Big Bang Theory, newer ones, New
Oh,
Girl,
yeah.
right? Well, they work because the characters mesh so well, and you want to be friends with these people.
And they were real people.
Yeah,
I mean, they were people that I mean, especially if you're a nerd, you've known a lot of nerds. So, they're our family are self-proclaimed nerds, and yeah, we've known a lot of nerds that are quirky, nerdy.
Be the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's like that was real. So Joe says it's NaNoWriMo month. Joan, write your haiku quickly.
That was a good haiku.
Without thinking about LOL. And then Joe said, I screwed that up, LOL.
I think you did pretty good.
Yeah, in a couple of seconds. Yeah. For sure. It's yeah. I've talked about this before. Poetry and I just I don't feel like a poet. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I think, and I've read poetry and enjoyed poetry, but I just don't feel like I'm a poet. I'm more of a dramatist.
Drama.
Yes.
Right. No, I same here. I find poetry very challenging, and I've utmost respect for them. I can do prose is so much easier for me, and also script. There's some scripts in the Bit Players series, but also that novelette that you showed, the Wallace House of Pain, that was actually published in script form too.
Was it?
Yeah, I turned it into a play, one act play.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Was it performed?
It hasn't been performed. I would love that. It was published by TouchPoint Press, and they had a little competition, and they chose it to publish it. But no one's performed it yet.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Mm.
I mean, we actually, I was president of the drama club in high school, and we were fortunate enough to have a director who was well known in New York, and so we would always have talent agents come and scout when we did our plays. And I graduated early from high school, and so my senior year I was in the play, but I was only 16. I wasn't 18, and we had the talent agent come, and I was given the opportunity to do theater in the round with, now you're, those of you who are my age are going to know what this means, with Joey Brown and Betsy Palma. And I was guaranteed so many lines. Well, I wanted to do it. And my parents were like, no way. You're not going to go do theater in the round with Joey Brown and Betsy Palmer. We won't sign. So, and then Rob and I have been, then we were in plays in Southern California in dinner theater. And so we've always loved that. But the idea to have something that you wrote, performed on stage by people, that would be really awesome.
Awesome.
Because I love the theater. I love the theater so much.
Me too. I would definitely like to write more drama.
And see it performed.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that you've written about your bit players, I don't see why a high school troupe or a community theater group couldn't do that.
Wouldn't be thrilled.
Right. I know. I would love that. And there is an actual script. It's not in each book because that would get a bit boring to read. But I did actually create a script for each of their shows. And that would be really fun for a high school group to do.
Yeah, it would be for a high school or a community theater. If you have a community theater in your community or, close by, maybe you could go pitch it to them, and, because that'd be something that they could do too. In their advertising would be that it was a local author. It's, that'd be
they could do the world premiere.
There you go.
We need to take our last break, and when we come back, we'll let everybody know how to reach you, and we'll talk about maybe things to come. Don't go away, folks.
The clock is ticking. Can Gracie uncover the truth?
Philip Pliant is the wealthy opportunist plastics dealer and CEO of Pliant Industries. He's also a master thief, creating a pervasive threat to the manufacturing infrastructure in the Caribbean islands markets. With the cartel as his stealth client, the naive city leaders have been seduced, enabling the production of more than three-dimensional building materials.
The expected profits are monstrous.
Is the art group, now led by Gracie and the family heirs, strong enough to win against this predator?
Can JJ's cats act on the root cause analysis in time?
Will Gracie be able to squash Pliant and the cartels?
Gracie never considered their lives would hang in the balance. The clock is ticking. 5, 4, 3.
Have you wanted to publish your story? Have you thought about self-publishing? Today is your day. 5-star Amazon review. Self-publish your ebook on Amazon for free in 2024. This ebook is available on Amazon by Becca L.
You just undid it.
Paradise, my prison. Charlie Flint awakens from a deep sleep and finds himself alone on a tropical beach surrounded by a palm tree jungle and exotic animals. He cannot remember who he is or anything about his life. First, he must find food and build shelter and protect himself from hidden dangers. As his memory gradually returns, it reveals what a very flawed person he is. A man who made too many mistakes, made too many enemies. The implications of the truth are staggering. How did Charlie get there? And will he save himself? Paradise, My Prison is the riveting new suspense thriller from retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. Paradise, My Prison by George Dismukes is available in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats worldwide.
And we're back. All right, let's put up your website so people can reach you. And her website is authorsmstevens.com, and that's AUTHOR smstevens.com. And people can reach you there and sign up for your email or newsletter and find you on all social media links there, right?
Yes, correct. And I actually am doing something, a little special promotion right now where people that sign up to follow my news through the website, which you do right on the homepage, they get a bunch of bonus materials related to Beautiful and Terrible Things. I mentioned it was quite long originally, so if you follow me, you get a lot of the extras. You get the novelette for free, Wallace House of Pain. And then also 10 bonus scenes that I took out, but that were pretty solid still. So you get access to those as well as a short story.
So go to follow me and then follow you, and that's how you get it.
If you just go to the website there,
Okay.
authorstevens.com, and just scroll down, there's a place to follow me.
Okay.
Put in your email address. Yeah.
Right. And so I'm curious, how many words was that?
The final is about 110,000.
Oh yeah. Publishing houses really don't want to do anything more than 80,000 because they don't think people will read it.
Right. Yeah. No, I was lucky that Black Rose didn't make me cut it back more.
Yeah, War and Peace, would never be published today.
No. First draft, can you believe it was 200,000 words?
Once you decided to write, by golly.
I know. It's funny you say that because sometimes we struggle to get words right and get the words down. But I was, because I did all 6 characters with their own stories, it was actually easy.
Right. I can see that. I really can, especially if you get into the groove and you're getting ideas and you just, write them all down and then you realize, oh, this might not fly. But that's good that you were able to, as you said, repurpose it.
Yes, it worked out well. And that little novelette actually has won a couple of awards, so who knew?
Well, that's good. The novelette was
Wallace House of Pain.
The Wallace House of Pain, right.
Yep.
Yeah, I got that American Fiction Award, and it actually won a CIBA, for people that know Chanticleer International Book Awards. It actually won in the novella category. So that was.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it was very exciting.
Yeah, it is always fun to win awards, I think. And hopefully it helps sell books. I'm not sure whether it does or not. I mean, we didn't see any uptick in ours, but
I'm sure it adds for some people credibility,
Yeah, I think
more
so
than
too.
just a review that one of your friends could have put out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
right.
it's good to have the balance of both.
Right. Well, like we were talking earlier about before the show about the various promotions authors can do in awards, promotions, reviews. I look at them like this. When I was in marketing at a solar company, my last job before I retired, our joke was, 50% of my marketing budget works great. I just wish I knew which 50%. Joy of marketing, you throw all your money and time into it, and you never really know exactly what's working.
Okay, Joe Conjo.
We were just going to ask.
We were just going to ask this, Joe. Do you outline your books ahead of time, or are you a pantser?
Yeah, I think I'm both. I mean, yes, I do outline, but I also let the characters take me where they want to go. So I do try to think about what themes I want to focus on, and what's the main message I'm trying to get across. I usually know the ending, but not always. So I do generally have an outline, but I don't. But I flush it out as I go. So it's a pretty bare outline. I don't know every single scene, and then as I go, I sort of evolve it more.
So do you outline for each chapter so you have an idea of how many chapters, or how much of an outline are you working with?
It's pretty basic. It will be sort of like, this is the character's arc. And I actually had this, I went to this great seminar some years ago now. And the author that ran it told us about the 3 arc structure. which some people are probably familiar with. And I love that. I use that a lot. So I guess that's actually where I start my outlining, is like for the main character, and then any others that are appropriate. What is their arc going to be? So yeah, so no, I definitely do not outline every chapter. In fact, I hate it when I have to do that, for for something after the fact.
Yeah, that would be, I think it would be tedious.
It's like writing more than one book.
It would suck the life out of my desire to write. I have to do what now? Yes. So the hero's journey, do you follow that arc?
It's pretty similar. Yeah, it's very similar to that. Yep. Yeah, the 3-arc structure that this C.J. Lyons was the author. She does medical thrillers, and basically we say, what's the internal challenge and goal, what's the external challenge and goal, and then they have to fall back on what's their default behavior, and then they have to fall back on that, and then eventually by the end they've adopted a new behavior that's working.
Yeah. And that is similar to a hero's journey, very similar. And of course, that's an old one. It's a tried and true arc, I think.
Yeah. Although I'll be honest, I'm curious if this works for you guys or not, because they say you're supposed to have all these key points, at 25% or 50% or whatever, and I never completely stick to that. It's like I start there, but my stories always veer off, and I always challenge myself. It's like, oh, am I making it worse? But I think I'm making it better. It's like people don't want the same formula every time. I mean, what do you guys do? Do you follow a?
We're a hybrid, so we are pretty much pantsers, but we do follow a very loose outline of where we know where we're starting, and we know where we want to end, and we know where we want to get in the middle. We know what kind of a journey.
Writing out our cast of characters, and then we have to add to them as the story goes along, because they're not all there at the beginning, obviously.
But that is something we do, is we keep a character Bible for each book. But that's just because we're old and we forget what color hair they have and what their name was. We might change it in every chapter if we didn't have that to fall back on. What was their age? When were they born? And for our last book, because there were ghosts in it, then it was like, and when did they die? And how long have they been dead?
Special considerations with a ghost character, I guess.
Yes, those are unique. And of course, for us, since we're paranormal investigators, those are all things we actually ask the real ghosts and say, when did you die? How old were you? Do you know what year it is now? Questions like that.
Who was the president when you died?
Who was the president when you died? Yeah. What year was it when you died? Yeah. Weird, isn't it?
Awesome.
It's different.
It's not something everybody does. But we do it all the time. We'll be doing it this Saturday at May Stringer. It's a museum in Brooksville, Florida. And it should be exciting. And one of our son-in-laws is a filmmaker, and he's going to come along and film it. So we should be able to show it on our paranormal podcast.
Little mini movie out of it.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, and I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but what do you have on the drawing board? Anything?
I do, actually. I'm in a very fun spot right now, because I'm still finishing, marketing Beautiful and Terrible Things, but I have 2 other things going. I have a new manuscript that I'm shopping now, and it's about a crotchety old grandmother who's also a successful business person, who starts posting anonymous, very snarky, sarcastic parenting advice on social media. She's very opinionated, and she thinks she knows better than everyone. But at the same time, she is harboring a bunch of secrets about her children that some people say make her a pretty bad parent. And of course, those secrets start to trickle out through the course of the book, and then all is revealed in the end. So I'm trying to find a publisher for that one right now. And then I also have something really different for me going, but it's quite fun. I am helping two friends, a couple, write their true crime memoir, and so I'm co-writing as opposed to ghostwriting. And
Are they the criminals?
No.
Oh, good. I was going to say
It might be dangerous to help them.
You might want to rethink that one.
Just when I thought my story couldn't be any cooler, that would have been cooler. But no, she was a victim of a violent crime, and he was the investigating detective. And it's got great drama because she first of all, she got away from the guy. He was threatening to take her home and kill her after he was done doing whatever he wanted to do with her, and she escaped. And then she actually helped the police find them. This was in the 80s. They didn't have, a lot of the forensics and DNA stuff of today, and they were really stuck. So she actually went out on the streets with the police looking for this guy, and she found him. So it's very dramatic. And then 20 roughly years later, these two, the victim and the detective, connected again, and they fell in love and got married.
Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
That is going to be a great
That's going to be
book.
really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm so sorry that she was a victim of a crime,
Right.
but that will be a great, people really like true crime. Almost all of our daughters, we have 5 daughters and 1 son, and almost all of our daughters are true crime aficionados. I mean, they follow this true crime, and they check up to see if there's anything, new DNA evidence and stuff like that. I don't know what the heck we did to them to make them.
Well, one of my daughters too, and one of my daughters, she loves true crime, especially serial killers, which to me, I do not want to spend time in a serial killer's head. She loves it.
Yep. Well, if your daughter is like our daughters, then they can tell you the difference between a male serial killer and a female serial killer and what motivates them. Yeah. And I'm like, no.
Oh, thank you.
No. But, we write murder mysteries, so.
Right.
Yeah, kind of runs in the family, I guess. But that sounds so fascinating.
Yeah, and they're actually working. They have an altruistic reason too for getting the story out there now. They're trying to get some legislation passed in Massachusetts that would close these loopholes that are really terrible loopholes and protect women better. And so they're hoping they can get the book published and they can use that as a platform to get out and speak more, to women, to even to police departments on working together with their victims, and just universities, all kinds of places to help them learn about this stuff.
Did this take place in Massachusetts?
It did, on Cape Cod.
Wow. That hits close to home.
You spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, my sister lives there.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. And, Irish Catholic family, we have 1 or 2 Leos in the family, quite a few, actually. That's interesting.
So anyway, it's fun. It's really fun to have a couple of projects going. Although I am itching to start writing my next story, even though I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, that's great. Joe Conchal said, I dropped a box of Captain Crunch on the floor and it spilled everywhere. I guess that makes me a serial killer. Oh, Joe, you did not.
No, you didn't say that.
So he writes humor.
What a groaner.
We're going to have to contact General Mills.
Oy.
Anyway.
You've been friends with Rob for too long, Joe. Oh, that was a bad one.
Sad. That's sad.
That is really sad. Believe it or not, we're at the end of our hour.
We are. Kind of shows at this point, I think. Okay.
And don't go away, because I want to ask you a little bit more about the whole Cape Cod thing. Yeah.
I want to remind everybody, pick up your copy of Beautiful and Terrible Things on Amazon. And you will be glad you did. And it's not a Rob joke. That's a Joe joke.
It was a Rob joke.
Wonderful show. Thank you,
Paul
Joan
Hollis.
Robin SM. That's Paul Hollis. And thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys for
Thank
being
you.
in the audience.
We're going to move you over to the side now. So hold on so you don't fall off. Okay. There you go. Hope you're all right.
See what he's talking about, Rob jokes? Yeah.
Stay there until we come back to you. Want to remind everybody next week, gather here, same place, same time for the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles 2024 Reveal Part 4. We're going to talk about the last 3 books of this year. It's James Callan, Kelly Marshall, and Jinx Schwartz. I guess that's pretty much it. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I don't. It's been another great night, and we appreciate you being on the show. And we've had a really good visit with you. And everybody go out and buy all of her books and give her good reviews.
There you go. So until next time.
That's all, folks.
Bye.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.